My daughter-in-law hosted an elegant dinner, but she quietly told me, "Don't come downstairs, mother-in-law. There's no room." I didn't argue. I just smiled. That same week, she learned that the space she denied me was the very roof she was about to lose. Let me tell you something I never imagined would happen to me at 67 years old. That night, as the aroma of roasted turkey breast wafted up the wooden stairs to my second-floor bedroom, I was sitting on the edge of my bed, my hands shaking in my lap, not from cold, but from contained rage. Downstairs, in my house, I could hear clear laughter, glasses clinking, the soft jazz music that Chloe had put on to impress her guests, those important friends who could help Robert with his business deals. I had spent the entire afternoon in that kitchen, peeling potatoes, slicing vegetables, preparing the cranberry sauce recipe my own mother-in-law taught me 40 years ago. My hands smelled of garlic and sage. My back ached from standing so long, and when the guests arrived, when I heard the doorbell and the cheerful voices filling the living room, Chloe came up the stairs wearing those heels that echo like warnings. She stopped in front of my door. She didn't even knock. "Mother-in-law," she said with that sweet voice she uses when she wants something, "it's best if you don't come down tonight. We simply don't have space at the table. We set everything up for 8 people. And well, it would be awkward to fit one more chair. You understand?" She looked at me with those honey-colored eyes my son loves so much, waiting for me to nod, as I always had, like the obedient old lady I had been for months. "Of course, dear," I replied. "Don't worry." She smiled with relief and hurried back down, her heels clicking victories on the steps. I closed the door slowly. I stood there, listening to my own breathing. Downstairs, someone called out, "What a beautiful home you have!" And I heard Chloe's voice full of pride. "Thank you. It's our little sanctuary. We decorated it ourselves." We, as if I didn't exist. I walked to my bed and sat down. From the window, I could see the garden lights that I planted myself when I moved here, the purple hydrangeas I put in with my own hands, the terracotta pots I brought from my old apartment, everything that Chloe now called hers. I bent down and pulled a small, old blue velvet box from under the bed. Its corners were worn. Inside, I kept something no one in this house knew about. Not even Robert, my only son, knew what that box contained. I gently caressed the lid, and a smile appeared on my face, not one of joy, of something darker, more necessary. Because that night, while they were toasting downstairs with the wine that I paid for, while Chloe was showing off my turkey recipe as if it were her own, while my son was laughing without once coming upstairs to check on me, I decided something. I decided that the space they denied me at that table would be the same space they would lose in this house. If you want to know how an invisible grandmother became the woman who took everything from them, stay with me. The story is just beginning, and I promise you won't regret it. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. Because what happened that week changed everything. And when Chloe understood what she had done, it was already too late. But for you to understand how I reached that moment, I must take you 3 years back. To the day I made the biggest mistake of my life, trusting that my family would take care of me the way I took care of them. 3 years before that cursed dinner, I lived in a small apartment, but it was mine, in the Queens neighborhood of Astoria. 2 bedrooms, a balcony overlooking the street, cream-colored walls that I painted myself when I was widowed. I had been living there alone since I lost Paul, my husband of 42 years of marriage. Paul died on a Tuesday in March, a massive heart attack while watering the balcony plants. He left so quickly, he didn't even get to say goodbye. I was left floating in a silence that hurt more than any scream. The first few months were a hell of loneliness. I cooked for 2 out of habit. I put his coffee mug on the table without realizing it. I talked to his photograph before going to sleep. Robert came to visit every Sunday. At first, then every 2 weeks, then once a month, always with the same look of guilt on his face. "Sorry, Mom, work is heavy. Chloe has so much to do. The kids have activities." I nodded. I smiled. I said I understood. But inside, I was slowly dying. Until one Saturday, almost a year after being widowed, Robert showed up unannounced. He had Chloe on his arm. She was wearing an impeccable beige suit, her hair pulled back in a perfect ponytail. Robert was carrying a bag with bagels and coffee. "Mom, we need to talk," my son said as he sat on the sofa his father bought 20 years ago. I sat across from them. My heart was already racing. When your son says, "We need to talk," in that serious voice, it's never good news. Chloe spoke first. "Mother-in-law, we've been thinking about you a lot, and we're worried about you being here alone. This apartment is too far from us. If something happened to you, we wouldn't find out until hours later." Robert nodded, squeezing his wife's hand. "Mom, we want you to come live with us. We just bought a new house. It has 2 stories, 3 bedrooms. One of them would be completely yours, with a private bathroom, all the space you need." I felt something warm in my chest, as if the sun had entered a window closed for months. Was my son inviting me to live with him? "We don't want you to be alone," Robert continued. "You're my mom. I need you close. The kids need you close. And besides, you'd help us so much with some things around the house. You cook like no one else. The kids adore you." Chloe smiled. That smile I later learned to recognize as poison wrapped in honey. "It would be wonderful to have you with us, Estelle. A united family is a strong family, right?" I didn't think twice. Because when you've spent months talking to the walls, when the only voice you hear is your own, when you realize you could die in your bed and no one would know until the smell alerted the neighbors, any invitation sounds like salvation. "Yes," I said with tears in my eyes. "Yes, I would love to." Robert hugged me tightly. He smelled of the same cologne his father used. For a moment, I felt everything would be all right. I sold my apartment in 2 months. It was a modest place, but in a good area. I received $240,000, an amount that was huge to me, the fruit of 40 years of work from Paul and me. When I broke the news to Robert, he became nervous. "Mom, save that money well. It's your inheritance, your security." But I had already made a decision. "Son, I want to help you. I know a big house costs a lot. Take $185,000. It's a loan. You pay me back when you can. No rush, no interest. But I want that money to help us all live better." Robert went silent. He looked at Chloe. Her eyes were wide, calculating. "Mom, I can't accept that," my son said. But his voice wasn't very convincing. "Of course you can. But I want you to sign a document, a promissory note. It's not that I don't trust you, my son. But your father always said, clear accounts make for long friendships, and we are more than friends. We are family." We went to a law office. Mr. James Miller, an older gentleman who had known Paul since they were young, drafted a simple but solid document. Robert acknowledged the debt of $185,000. He would have 5 years to pay it. And if he didn't, I would have the legal right to 50% of the property. Robert signed without reading it carefully. He was anxious, excited. His dream house was about to be his. Chloe was not present at that signing. Robert said she had a doctor's appointment with the kids. I put that document in my blue velvet box, and I moved in with them 2 weeks later. The first 6 months were magical. Chloe called me Mom Estelle with genuine affection. She asked me for cooking advice. She asked me about the garden plants. The children ran to hug me when they came home from school. I felt useful, alive, needed. I cooked for everyone. I helped with the cleaning. I watched the children when Robert and Chloe went out. I felt like I was part of something again. Until one day, everything changed. It was something small, almost imperceptible. Chloe walked into the living room and saw that I had moved a vase from the coffee table to the window shelf. It was an ugly plain glass vase. In its place, I had put a ceramic piece I brought from New Mexico, a beautiful piece with hand-painted flowers. Chloe stopped dead in her tracks. "Mother-in-law, who told you you could move things?" Her voice was different, cold. "Sorry, dear. I thought it would look nicer this way. This ceramic is authentic. It has history." She walked over to the shelf, took my ceramic piece, and put it in a cabinet. She put her glass vase back in the center. "This is my house, mother-in-law, and I like things the way I put them. I hope you understand." She walked to her room without looking back. I stood there, feeling something break inside me. That night, I told Robert what happened. He sighed, tired. "Mom, Chloe is very particular about the decor. Don't take it personally. Just ask before you move things, okay?" He didn't defend me. He didn't even look me in the eye. That was the first crack. And like all cracks, it started small. But over time, it became an abyss that swallowed me whole. After the vase incident, things began to change so slowly that at first I thought it was my imagination, but it wasn't. Chloe started redecorating everything. First, it was the curtains. I had brought some from my apartment, mustard yellow with embroidery, handmade by an artisan from Vermont. I had hung them in the living room with so much care. They were my little piece of identity in that house. One Saturday, I came home from grocery shopping, and they were gone. In their place were gray, modern, cold, soulless blinds. "And my curtains, Chloe?" I asked, trying to keep my calm. She didn't even look up from her phone. "Oh, mother-in-law, I donated them. They didn't match the minimalist aesthetic I want for this house. Those old fabrics collect dust and look dated." Dated. That word hurt more than it should have. "But I made them," I started to say. "I know," she interrupted. "But this isn't a museum of memories anymore, right? It's a modern house. You have to adapt to the times." She got up and left, leaving me standing there with the grocery bag still in my hands. I didn't say anything else. I swallowed the words like poison. Then came the furniture. I had brought a wooden rocking chair where Paul used to read the newspaper every morning. I put it in a corner of the living room near the window. It was my spot for afternoon coffee. One morning I came downstairs and it was gone. "Where is my rocking chair?" I asked, my heart pounding. "I sold it on Facebook Marketplace," Chloe replied without flinching. "It took up too much space and it was scratched anyway. I got you $800. They're in the kitchen drawer." $800 for the last piece of furniture I had left of Paul's. I felt like I couldn't breathe. "Chloe, that rocking chair was my husband's. You had no right." "Oh, mother-in-law, don't be dramatic. It was old furniture. Besides, you're living here as a freeloader. You can't expect to fill my house with your antique things." Freeloader. That word cut through me like a knife. I looked for Robert. He was right there, at the dining table, drinking coffee. He heard everything. "Robert!" I pleaded with my eyes. He put his mug down on the table. He sighed as if I were the problem. "Mom, please understand. Chloe is the one who keeps this house running. She decides how it looks, how it's organized. We can't fight over every little thing. Just let her do what she wants. It's her space." Her space. Not ours, not mine. Hers. I locked myself in my room and cried until my throat hurt. But that was only the beginning. Weeks later, Chloe removed all the family photographs from the hallway. Photos of Robert's wedding. Photos of the kids as babies. Photos of Paul and me on our silver anniversary. She replaced them with abstract paintings bought at a decor store. Meaningless splatters of color. "Photos age the design," she told me when I timidly protested. "This looks more chic, more current." As she put all my memories in a cardboard box that she left in my room, as if my past life didn't deserve to be seen, and I began to feel exactly like that, invisible. The meals changed too. Before we cooked together, I taught her my recipes. She seemed interested. She took notes. She asked about quantities, but suddenly she stopped asking for my help. "I've learned everything I needed, mother-in-law. Now I prefer to cook alone. You can rest." Rest sounded nice, but what it really meant was, get out of my kitchen. I stopped cooking. I stopped setting the table. I stopped feeling like I was part of the family. I became a shadow inhabiting the second floor. Chloe began to give me orders, as if I were the maid. "Estelle, can you do the dishes today? I'm so tired." "Estelle, could you iron this shirt for Robert? I just don't have the time." "Estelle, the children came back with dirty shoes. Clean them, please." And I did it. Because I was afraid of being alone again. Afraid that Robert would tell me I was no longer welcome. Afraid of losing the only thing I had left, being close to my son. But there was something worse than the orders. It was the way Chloe talked about me when she thought I wasn't listening. One day, I was on the stairs when I heard her voice in the living room. She was talking on the phone with someone, probably a friend. "You have no idea how stressful it is to have a mother-in-law living here," she was saying with annoyance. "Everything smells old. She stays in her pajamas until noon. She cooks with so much garlic that the house stinks. And the worst part is that Robert defends her because she's his mom, but I'm fed up." Fed up. I heard laughter on the other end of the phone. Yes, I know it's temporary, Chloe continued. Eventually she'll have to leave, or we'll look for a place for her. But she can't stay here forever. This is my house, not a nursing home. I sat on the step. My legs were trembling. That's how I was seen. As a temporary inconvenience, like trash waiting to be disposed of. I went up to my room without making a sound. I locked the door, and I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw a 67-year-old woman with gray hair, wrinkled skin, and trembling hands. I saw someone who had lost her place in the world, someone who no longer mattered. But then my eyes drifted to the blue velvet box I kept under my bed, and something inside me began to wake up. It wasn't rage yet. It was something more dangerous. It was the seed of revenge. Because while Chloe was erasing my existence from that house, I was keeping a secret that could erase everything, including her. There are moments in life that break you in two, moments where the person you were before dies, and someone completely different is born. For me, that moment arrived on a Wednesday in October. I had been living as a ghost in that house for 3 months. I went up and down the stairs without making a sound. I ate alone in the kitchen while they ate dinner in the dining room. I locked myself in my room before Chloe came home from the gym so I wouldn't bother her with my presence. But that Wednesday, the toothache I had been ignoring for weeks became unbearable. I woke up at 4 a.m. with my face swollen and tears rolling down my cheeks. The left side of my mouth throbbed as if it had a heart of its own, beating pain with every second. I waited until 8 to go downstairs. I didn't want to wake anyone up. Robert was in the kitchen making himself an espresso in that ridiculously expensive machine Chloe had bought. "Son," I said with a trembling voice, "I need to go to the dentist. I'm in a lot of pain." He looked at me with genuine concern. For a second, I saw the boy who used to run into my arms when he fell at the park. "Is it that bad, Mom?" "I can't stand it anymore. I need something done urgently." I called the clinic I had gone to for years. They gave me an appointment for that same afternoon. The diagnosis was terrible, severe infection in my wisdom tooth. I needed immediate extraction, deep cleaning, and special antibiotics. "That will be $8,500, the receptionist told me in a neutral tone. "How will you be paying?" I felt the floor move beneath my feet. I had spent almost all my savings helping with household expenses during those months. Groceries, the kids' uniforms, small expenses that Chloe asked me to share because we all lived together. I didn't have even $3,000 left in my account. "Can I pay half now and the rest later?" I asked, humiliated. "I'm sorry, ma'am. It's clinic policy. Full payment." I returned home with a swollen face, the pain throbbing, and my heart crushed by the humiliation. That night, I waited for Robert to finish dinner. Chloe was upstairs bathing the children. I sat across from him in the living room. "Son, I need to ask you a favor." He put the TV remote aside. "Tell me, Mom." "I need $8,500 for the dentist. It's urgent. I promise I'll pay you back as soon as—" I didn't finish the sentence because I saw something on his face that I had never seen before. Discomfort. "$8,500? He repeated, as if it were an impossible amount. "Yes, son. It's a serious infection. If I don't get it treated, it could get worse." Robert rubbed his face with his hands. He looked toward the stairs. I could hear the water running in the bathroom. "Mom, I have to check with Chloe." The world stopped. "Check with her?" I repeated in a quiet voice. "Yes, we handle the finances together here. She keeps track of everything. I can't make money decisions without talking to her first." Something inside me broke with a sound no one else could hear. "Robert," I said, trying to keep my calm, "I am your mother. I need medical treatment. I am not asking you for a whim. I am asking you for help." "I know, Mom. I know, but what?" My voice was starting to crack. "Do you need your wife's permission to help your own mother?" At that moment, Chloe came down the stairs. She was wearing a champagne-colored silk robe. Her hair was pulled back. She smelled of rose cream. "What's going on?" she asked with that tone of someone who already knows everything. Robert stood up, nervous. "My mom needs $8,500 for the dentist." Chloe looked at me from head to toe. She noticed my swollen face, my red eyes, my slumped posture of a woman begging for charity from her own family. "Oh, mother-in-law," she said with false compassion, $8,500 is a lot of money. Can't it wait a few months? We're tight right now. We just paid the kids' tuition." "It's an infection," I repeated. "It can't wait." Chloe sighed as if I were a spoiled child. "Dental treatments are so expensive. Aren't there cheaper options? There are free clinics, public ones. You can go there." I stared at her, unable to believe what I was hearing. Public clinics? Me, who had given her husband almost $200,000? Me, who cooked, cleaned, and watched their children? I had to go wait in line at a public clinic while she wore $300 creams and got her nails done every week. I looked at Robert, hoping he would say something, that he would defend me, that he would remember who I was, but he just looked at the floor. "Mom," he finally said without looking up, "let me see what we can do. Give me a few days." A few days. For my own son, my pain could wait a few days. I stood up slowly. I felt my knees trembling. "Don't worry," I said, in a voice that didn't sound like mine. "I'll manage." I went up the stairs, holding onto the railing. Every step was a mountain. I entered my room and locked the door. I sat on the bed and cried as I hadn't cried since I buried Paul. I cried for the humiliation. I cried for the betrayal. I cried because the son I raised, the son I gave everything to, the son who slept in my arms when he had nightmares, that son had just asked his wife for permission to help his sick mother, and the answer had been no. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the darkness, looking at the blue velvet box. I thought about Paul, how disappointed he would be to see what his son had become. I thought about all the sacrifices I made, the sleepless nights when Robert was a baby, the extra jobs to pay for his college, the times I ate less so he could have more. And now he needed permission. Permission to love me, permission to take care of me, permission to remember that I existed. Something changed in me that night. The toothache was still there, but there was a new, deeper pain, a pain that is not cured with antibiotics or surgery. The pain of knowing that to your own flesh and blood, you are no longer a priority. You are an awkward expense, a problem to be solved, a burden to be endured. I opened the blue box with trembling hands. I took out the document I had kept there for 3 years. I read the whole thing under the light of my lamp, and for the first time in months, I felt something like power. Because they could take away my dignity, they could take away my place at the table, they could even take away my identity, but they couldn't take away what legally belonged to me. And although I didn't know it yet, that paper would be my revenge and my salvation. 2 weeks after the dentist incident, Chloe walked into my room one Friday morning. She didn't knock. She never did. She opened the door as if entering her own closet. "Mother-in-law, I need your help this Saturday." I was sitting on the bed, reading a book of poems that Paul gave me years ago. "What do you need?" I asked without looking up. "I'm hosting a dinner. Robert invited some important clients, people who can help him close a big contract. I need everything to be perfect." I closed the book slowly. "And what do you need from me?" "Well, your help in the kitchen, obviously. You cook very well. I was thinking of making that roasted turkey breast you prepare, the one with rosemary and white wine. Robert loves it." Of course, she needed me when it was convenient. "What time?" I asked with a neutral voice. "I invited them for 8 o'clock at night, but I'd need us to start preparing at 3 p.m. It's a lot of food. There will be 8 of us." 8 people. I nodded without saying anything else. Saturday arrived, cloudy and cold. I went downstairs at 3 o'clock sharp, as she asked. Chloe was already in the kitchen, her hair pulled back in a high bun, wearing an immaculate white apron. "Perfect. You're here," she said without greeting me. "Start peeling those potatoes. I need them all to be the same size, even, no uneven cuts." She spoke to me as if I were her employee, but I swallowed my pride and began peeling. For the next 5 hours, I worked nonstop. I peeled potatoes, carrots, squash. I chopped onions until my eyes burned. I prepared the turkey with the recipe my mother-in-law taught me 40 years ago. That recipe passed down from generation to generation. the one Chloe could never learn because it requires love, not just ingredients. I made mashed potatoes with real butter and a touch of nutmeg. I prepared a salad with Dijon vinaigrette. I baked a New York-style cheesecake that came out perfect, shiny, with the exact caramelization. Chloe gave me orders non-stop. Estelle, that garlic is too thick. Chop it finer. Estelle, clean that pan thoroughly. It has stains. Estelle, the table is set wrong. The forks go on the other side. Every order was a stab, but I kept going. Silent. Obedient. At 7:30, Chloe ran upstairs to get ready. I stayed in the kitchen, wiping the last plates, putting away the utensils. My hands smelled of garlic and rosemary. My back ached from standing so many hours. I had a sauce stain on my blouse. I went up to my room to change. I put on a clean lavender blouse. I combed my hair. I put on some pale pink lipstick. I went downstairs, ready to sit at the table, because although no one had explicitly told me, I assumed that after cooking for 5 hours, I would have a place at that dinner. How naive of me. At 8 o'clock sharp, the guests started to arrive. 3 elegant couples, the men in dark suits, the women in cocktail dresses and jewelry that sparkled under the foyer light. Chloe greeted them like the queen of her castle. She was wearing a fitted black dress, gold heels. Her hair was down in perfect waves. She looked radiant. Robert was by her side, smiling, shaking hands, being the perfect host. I stayed on the stairs, watching, waiting for someone to call me, but no one did. The guests moved into the living room. I could hear laughter, glasses clinking, soft jazz music that Chloe had put on the sound system. 20 minutes passed, then 30. No one came up to find me. Finally, I heard Chloe's steps on the stairs. She came up quickly, with those heels that announced her arrival like war drums. She stopped in front of me. Her French perfume was so strong it made me dizzy. She approached, and in a low voice, almost whispering, she said, "Mother-in-law, it's best if you don't come down tonight." I looked at her, not understanding. "What?" We don't have space at the table. We set everything up for exactly 8 people. It would be awkward to fit another chair. Do you understand?" No room. Those 2 words pierced my chest like broken glass. "But I cooked everything," I said with a trembling voice. "I know, mother-in-law, and it's delicious. I'll bring you a plate later, but tonight is important for Robert. We need to make a good impression. And you know how these business dinners are, just adults, boring conversations. You'll be more comfortable resting up here." I kept staring at her, searching her honey-colored eyes for any trace of humanity, but I only saw cold calculation. "Does Robert know you're asking me this?" I asked. "It was both our ideas." She lied without batting an eye. "He also thinks it's better this way." Something inside me wanted to scream. It wanted to go down those stairs and sit at that table. It wanted to tell all those elegant guests who really cooked that food, but I didn't, because I had no pride left, only exhaustion. "Fine," I said with a dead voice. "I won't come down." Chloe smiled with relief. "Thank you, mother-in-law. I knew you would understand. You're always so accommodating." She ran back down, her heels clicking victories on every step. I stood there, in the dark hallway of the 2nd floor, listening as dinner began downstairs. I heard someone call out, "What a beautiful home you have!" And Chloe's voice replied proudly, "Thank you. We decorated it ourselves. It's our sanctuary." As if I didn't exist. I walked slowly to my room. I closed the door. I sat on the bed. The smell of the turkey came up through the cracks in the door. My turkey, my recipe, my work. I heard laughter, toasts, more music, and then I heard something that completely shattered me. A woman asked, "And Robert's mom, doesn't she live with you?" There was a brief silence. Then Chloe's voice, sweet as poisoned honey. "Oh yes, my mother-in-law lives here, but she prefers to rest early. You know how older people are, they get tired quickly." Laughter. Everyone laughed. As if I were a decrepit old woman who falls asleep at 8 p.m. As if I hadn't spent 5 hours cooking for them. As if I didn't exist, beyond being the mother-in-law who lives upstairs. I got up, trembling. I walked to the window. Outside, the garden I planted shone under the moonlight. The purple hydrangeas, the terracotta pots, the plants that grew because I watered them every morning, everything Chloe called hers. I turned around and looked at my bed. Underneath it was the blue velvet box. I pulled it out with trembling hands. I opened it. The lamplight illuminated the document I kept there. The promissory note, the legal agreement, the proof that this house was actually mine too. And something in me changed at that moment. It was no longer pain. It was no longer sadness. It was clarity, a cold, crystalline clarity like ice. Chloe had denied me a seat at that table. She had turned me into an invisible maid in my own house. She had humiliated me in front of strangers, and worst of all, my son had allowed it. But she didn't know one thing. She didn't know that the space she denied me tonight was the very space she was about to lose, because that house she so proudly called hers was not completely hers, and I had the power to prove it. I sat on the bed, caressing the document, and for the first time in months, I smiled. Not out of happiness, out of justice, because the war had just begun, and this time, I wasn't going to lose. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the darkness of my room, with the box open on my lap, looking at that document as if it were a map to my freedom. Downstairs, the dinner continued until past 12 o'clock a.m. Laughter, music, the sound of glasses clinking over and over. No one came up to bring me food, as Chloe promised. No one asked about me. And I was glad it was that way, because every laugh I heard, every toast they made with my wine, in my house, eating my food, was one more nail in the coffin of their arrogance. Now let me tell you something no one in that house knows. Something I kept for 3 years like an ace up my sleeve. When I sold my apartment in Queens, I received $240,000. It was everything Paul and I built in 42 years of marriage. That money represented decades of work, of sacrifices, of getting up at 5 a.m., of eating ramen to save, of not buying new clothes so Robert could have decent uniforms. When my son told me he wanted to buy that 2-story house with a garden, I saw the excitement in his eyes. Mom, it's perfect. It has 3 bedrooms. The kids could each have their own space, and you two. It would be our house for the whole family. But he was missing $185,000 for the down payment. The bank wouldn't lend him that amount. His credit history wasn't good enough. Chloe had just quit her job to dedicate herself to the children. They were desperate, and I just wanted to see my son happy. Take the money, I told him one Sunday after lunch. $185,000. It's yours. Robert's mouth dropped open. Mom, I can't accept that. It's your inheritance, your security. You are my son, my only family. Why would I want that money if not to help you? But Paul had taught me something fundamental in our years together. Love is not at odds with prudence, Estelle. Always protect yourself, even from those you love. And those words echoed in my head. Robert, I'll give you the money, but on one condition. He looked at me confused. What? That you sign a document, a legal promissory note, where you acknowledge that this is a loan, not a gift. You will pay me back when you can. No rush, no interest. But I want it in writing. I saw doubt in his eyes. Mom, don't you trust me? Of course I trust you. But life takes many turns, my son. And your father always said, clear accounts keep love long. This protects both of us. He reluctantly agreed. We went to Mr. James Miller, the lawyer who knew Paul since they were young. A serious man, meticulous, the kind who doesn't leave loose ends. Mrs. Estelle, he told me while drafting the document, I want to suggest something to you, with your permission. Tell me, Mr. Miller, in addition to the promissory note, we should include a guarantee clause. In case your son cannot pay you within the agreed term, you would have the legal right to claim a percentage of the property. Robert shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Is that necessary? He asked. It's prudent, Mr. Miller replied. We are not saying you won't pay, young Robert, but in legal terms, your mother is investing almost $200,000 in a property for which she would have no security. This protects her. I looked at my son. What do you say, son? He sighed. He looked at the ceiling. Then he looked at me. Fine. Whatever you say, Mom. Mr. Miller drafted the full document. I, Robert Cifuentes Doe, acknowledge having received from my mother, Estelle Doe Cifuentes, the amount of $185,000 as an interest-free loan for the acquisition of the property located at 342 Elm Street, Chelsea, New York. I commit to liquidating this debt within a maximum period of 5 years from the date of signing. In case of total non-compliance at the end of the established term, the lender, Estelle Doe Cifuentes, will have the irrevocable legal right to 50% of the aforementioned property, being registered as a co-owner with the corresponding authorities. Robert signed. I signed. Mr. Miller notarized it, and that document was legally registered. We left the law office, and Robert hugged me tightly. "Thank you, Mom. I promise I will pay you back. Every single dollar. I swear it by Dad." "I know, my son, I know." But there was something I didn't tell him at that moment. Something I kept silent because I didn't want to cloud his happiness. When Chloe found out I had given money for the house, her reaction was strange. We were in the kitchen, days after the signing. "Mother-in-law, Robert told me you put money toward the house. How generous." Her voice sounded sweet, but her eyes didn't. "He's my son," I replied. "I would do anything for him." Of course. But how wonderful that you did it as a gift, because imagine if it were a loan. It would be awkward, wouldn't it, living in a house where you owe your own mother money?" I remained silent. She continued talking while chopping vegetables. "Besides, this house is ours, Robert's and mine, our home, where we're going to raise our children. How awful it would be to think that someone else has rights over it, right?" I understood at that moment that Robert never told her about the document. He never told her he had signed a promissory note. He never mentioned the 5-year clause. Chloe thought I had gifted her husband almost $200,000 without asking for anything in return, and I let her believe it, because something told me that one day that ignorance would be my most powerful weapon. I put the document in my blue velvet box. I hid it under my bed, and for 3 years I never mentioned it again, not even when Robert never paid me a single dollar. Not even when the 5-year deadline was dangerously approaching. Not even when Chloe started treating me like trash. I kept it like someone guarding a bomb, waiting for the exact moment to detonate it. And that night, after the dinner where they forbade me to come down, after hearing how they described me as the old woman who gets tired early after being invisible in my own house, I knew that moment had arrived. I took out my cell phone. I searched my contacts. Mr. Henry Olson, Mr. Miller's partner, a 71-year-old lawyer, specialist in family and property law, a close friend of Paul's. I wrote him a message at 2 a.m. "Mr. Olson, this is Estelle, Paul Cifuentes' widow. I urgently need to see you. I have a document I need to execute. Can you receive me on Monday?" The answer arrived 20 minutes later. "Mrs. Estelle, of course, I will wait for you at 10 a.m. in my office. Whatever it is, we will solve it." I closed the phone. I looked at the document one more time, and I smiled. A smile that Paul would have recognized. The smile of someone who has nothing left to lose and everything to gain, because Chloe could keep her perfect table, her elegant guests, her illusion of being the queen of the castle, but that castle was built on sand, and I was the tide about to sweep everything away. The days after that dinner were like falling down an endless staircase. Each day was a step deeper into invisibility. Chloe no longer bothered to hide her contempt. On Monday morning, I went downstairs for breakfast as I always did. I made coffee in the old coffee maker I had brought from my apartment. Chloe walked into the kitchen in her tight workout clothes, ready to go to the gym. She looked at me as if she had just found a cockroach on the table. "Estelle, can you eat breakfast earlier or later? I need the kitchen at this time to prepare the kids' smoothies. You're in the way. You're in the way." Those 2 words were tattooed on my skin. "Sure," I said, picking up my mug. "I'll go up to my room." "Perfect. That's better for everyone." I went up the stairs with my lukewarm coffee, and my pride turned to ashes. From that day on, I started eating in my room, like a prisoner in my own house. On Tuesday, while watering the garden plants, those purple hydrangeas I planted myself when I moved in, Chloe came out of the house furious. "Who gave you permission to water?" she shouted from the doorway. I dropped the hose. "Sorry, I thought they needed water." We have a gardener for that. His name is Stephen. He comes on Thursdays. We don't need you playing gardener." "But I planted these plants." "Well, everything here is mine now," she interrupted me with a sharp voice. "The plants, the garden, the house, the furniture, everything. So don't touch anything without asking first. Is that clear?" I stood there, my hands wet, feeling the tears threatening to fall. "Is that clear?" I whispered. She went back into the house, slamming the door. I stayed, looking at my hydrangeas. Those flowers I cared for 3 years, those plants that grew because I talked to them every morning, because I gave them special compost, because I pruned them with love. And now I couldn't even water them without asking permission. Wednesday was worse. I went down to the living room because I wanted to watch television. I just wanted to distract myself for a while, watch a cooking show or an old movie. Chloe was there, doing yoga on a turquoise mat. "Mother-in-law, what do you need?" she asked without opening her eyes, in a position that looked like a human pretzel. "I wanted to watch a little television." "Oh, you can't. I'm expecting visitors in half an hour. Some friends are coming over, and I need the living room to be available. Besides, with the TV on, I can't concentrate on my practice." "And where can I be?" She opened one eye. She looked at me as if I were stupid. "In your room, I guess. Or go for a walk. It's a nice day." Her room, as if the rest of the house wasn't mine too. I went upstairs without saying anything else. From my bedroom window, I watched 3 elegant women arrive. Perfect hair, designer bags, expensive clothes. They entered my house laughing as if they were in a private club. I listened to their voices, their laughter, the clinking of porcelain cups, and then I heard something that chilled my blood. One of them asked, "Chloe, what about your mother-in-law? Is she still living here?" "Oh, yes," Chloe replied with that tone of annoyance I already knew so well. "She's around. I think she's upstairs. She doesn't really like socializing." Liar. I didn't prefer to be upstairs. They had banished me there. Another voice said, "It must be so hard, right, having your mother-in-law living with you?" "You have no idea," Chloe sighed. "But, well, it's temporary. Eventually, we're going to look for a place where she's better cared for, a senior living facility or something like that." Silence. Then awkward laughter. "Well, you know what's best for your family," one of them said. "Exactly. This is my house, and I have to think about my children, about my marriage. I can't live forever with an old woman who needs constant attention." Old woman. As if I were a piece of old furniture in the way. I closed the window so hard that the glass vibrated. I sat on the bed trembling with rage. I took out my phone and called Mr. Olson. He answered on the second ring. "Mrs. Estelle, how are you?" "Mr. Olson," I said with a broken voice, "I need to move the appointment up. I can't wait until Monday. Can you receive me tomorrow?" There was a pause. "Are you all right? Did something happen to you?" "I'm fine, but I need to act fast before it's too late. Come tomorrow at 3 p.m. and bring the document." "I'll be there." That night, Robert came home late from work. I heard him go straight up to his room without stopping to greet me. He didn't even ask about me anymore. I had become invisible even to my own son. On Thursday morning, I got dressed carefully. I put on a navy blue dress that Paul gave me for our last anniversary. I put on a little makeup. I carefully styled my hair. I went down the stairs, holding my purse where I carried the velvet box. Chloe was in the kitchen preparing the children's breakfast. "Where are you going all dressed up, mother-in-law?" she asked mockingly. "I have an appointment," I replied without looking at her. "Oh, good. By the way, when you get back, could you do the breakfast dishes? I have a million things to do today." I didn't answer. I left the house, feeling her eyes fixed on my back. Mr. Olson's office was downtown, in an old building with mosaic floors and huge windows. I went up in an old elevator that creaked on every floor. Mr. Olson greeted me with a paternal hug. He was a tall man, with completely white hair, thick glasses, and a gaze that conveyed wisdom and experience. "Mrs. Estelle, please sit down. Tell me what's going on." And then, for the first time in months, I broke down. I told him everything. The humiliation of the dinner, the constant orders, the invisibility, the contempt, the conversations I overheard, the plan to send me to a nursing home. I spoke for 40 minutes nonstop. When I finished, my eyes were red and my hands were shaking. Mr. Olson handed me a cloth handkerchief. Mrs. Estelle, he said with a serious voice, what you are telling me is abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, and you are not alone. We have legal tools to protect you. I took the document out of the box. I handed it to him with trembling hands. He read it slowly. He took off his glasses. He cleaned them. He put them back on. He reread it. Then he smiled. This is rock solid, Estelle. This is pure gold. Mr. Miller did an impeccable job. This document is notarized. It is completely legal, irrefutable. What can I do with it? You can do two things. First option, demand full payment of the debt, $185,000. If your son cannot pay, he would have to sell the house or get the money elsewhere. Second option, execute the co-ownership clause. Legally claim 50% of the property. Become an official co-owner. And if I do that, then you would have the legal right to live there and no one could kick you out. Or you could sell your share. Or demand that they sell the entire house and divide the profits. The power would be in your hands. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. How long would it take? If we start today, in 2 weeks we would have everything ready. Legal notice, co-ownership registration, everything. Do it, I said without hesitation. Do whatever is necessary. Mr. Olson nodded. Are you sure, Mrs. Estelle? Because this will change everything. Your relationship with your son, with your daughter-in-law. There will be no turning back. I looked him straight in the eye. Mr. Olson, my relationship with my son is already broken. My daughter-in-law treats me like trash. I have nothing to lose, but I have a lot to regain, starting with my dignity. He smiled sadly. Your husband would be proud of you. I left that office with my heart pounding loudly, not from fear, but from determination, because the war was no longer a possibility. It was a reality, and I had just fired the first shot. 3 days after my meeting with Mr. Olson, the worst happened. Something I never imagined my own son would be capable of doing. It was Sunday afternoon. I was in my room reading, trying to stay busy while waiting for news from the lawyer. I went downstairs to the kitchen for a glass of water. The house was silent. The children were playing in the neighbor's yard. I thought Robert and Chloe had gone out, but then I heard their voices. They were coming from the living room. They were talking quietly, but not quietly enough. I froze in the hallway, hidden behind the wall. I can't take it anymore, Robert, Chloe was saying, her voice exasperated. Your mother is driving me crazy. She's everywhere. Her lavender lotion smell permeates the whole house. When I have guests, I'm embarrassed. My friends ask me why she still lives here. Chloe, she's my mother, Robert began to say. Exactly. Your mother, not mine. I didn't sign up to live with a mother-in-law stuck to us 24 hours a day. This isn't a nursing home. There was a long silence. Then I heard my son sigh deeply. What do you suggest? He asked, his voice tired. That we look for a place for her. There are very good residences, with gardens, with nurses, activities. She would be better cared for. She would have people her age. She wouldn't be so lonely. My heart started pounding so hard, I thought I was going to faint. A nursing home? Robert said. Don't call them that. They're senior living residences, respectable places. I've researched several. There's one in upstate New York that looks beautiful. It has a pool, library, painting classes. And how much does it cost? There are options, from $12,000 a month up to $35,000, depending on the level of care. $12,000? Robert repeated thoughtfully. Yes, and look, I know it sounds expensive, but think about it. You spend on her here too. Food, electricity, water, gas, all that adds up. And besides, we get our privacy back, our house back, our space as a family. Another silence. My breathing was so ragged that I had to cover my mouth with my hand. I don't know, Chloe. She's my mom. I promised Dad I would take care of her. And you are taking care of her. But taking care of her doesn't mean sacrificing your marriage, your peace of mind, your home. Robert, let's be honest. She's elderly now. She needs more attention than we can give her. In a residence, she would have professional care. It wouldn't be abandonment. It would be what's best for everyone, even her. You think so? I'm sure. Besides, look how things have been lately. She barely leaves her room. She's sad, depressed. She's not happy here, Robert. Admit it." Of course I wasn't happy. How could I be happy if they treated me like a piece of furniture in the way? "Let me think about it," Robert finally said. "There's not much to think about, sweetie. Do it for us, for the children, for our family. Let's look at options this week. Let's visit a couple of places. No commitment, just to see." "Okay," my son gave in. "Let's see what's out there." "Perfect. Let's pick a nice one, but not too expensive either. There are some for $12,000 or $14,000 that are pretty decent." Decent. As if I were a dog they needed to find a decent shelter for. "Yes," Robert said. "A respectable one, with a garden and stuff. Obviously, my love, we're not going to send her to some ugly place, but we do need to resolve this soon. It's been 3 years like this. That's long enough." I heard their footsteps approaching. I ran up the stairs, making as little noise as possible. I entered my room and locked the door. I stood there, leaning against the door, trying to process what I had just heard. My son. My only son. The child I carried in my womb for 9 months. The baby I breastfed for a year. The child who cried in my arms when he fell off his bike. The teenager who hugged me when his father died. That very son had just agreed to lock me up in a nursing home because his wife was fed up, because my smell permeated the house, because they were ashamed of me. I walked to the mirror. I looked at myself completely. A 67-year-old woman. White hair, wrinkled skin, hands that trembled slightly. An invisible woman, disposable, an inconvenience with an expiration date. But then my eyes dropped to the blue velvet box on my bed. I opened it slowly. I took out the document, and I also took out my phone. I dialed Mr. Olson's number without thinking twice. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Mrs. Estelle, is everything all right?" "Mr. Olson," I said in a voice I didn't recognize as mine. A cold, hard, determined voice. "Proceed with everything. Now. I want you to start the legal process immediately. I want to execute the co-ownership clause. I want them to find out in the most official way possible that this house is also mine, and that no one, absolutely no one, is going to lock me up in any damn nursing home." There was a pause. "Are you sure, Mrs. Estelle? Once we start, there's no turning back." "I have never been more sure of anything in my life." "Then we start tomorrow first thing. In 1 week we'll have everything ready. Get ready, because when they find out, there will be a storm." "Let there be a storm," I replied. "Because I am no longer the scared old woman they think I am. I am the hurricane that is about to destroy their castle of lies." I hung up the phone. I sat on the bed, and for the first time in 3 years, I felt powerful, because they could plan my destiny, but I had the power to change theirs. And that very week, Chloe was going to learn something she would never forget, that the space she denied me at her table was the very roof she was about to lose. I didn't close my eyes that night, not out of sadness, but out of absolute clarity. I sat on my bed with the document spread out in front of me, reading every word, every clause, every line that gave me back the power I had lost. And while the world slept outside, I was planning my counterattack. Because it's one thing to be humiliated, it's quite another to stay silent. On Monday at 9 a.m., my phone rang. It was Mr. Olson. "Mrs. Estelle, I have news. I've reviewed the entire file. The document is impeccable. We start the process this afternoon. I need you to come sign some additional papers." "How fast can we do this?" I asked. "If all goes well, in 7 business days, we will have the official notification ready. We will send it by certified mail and also by judicial notice. They won't be able to ignore it. It will be legally registered that you are the co-owner of 50% of that property." A shiver ran down my spine. And what can they do? Nothing. The document is notarized, registered. It is irrefutable. Your son will have 3 options. Pay you the full $185,000, accept the co-ownership, and live with that reality, or sell the property and divide the profits. "Perfect," I said firmly. "Do it." "There's something else I want to suggest, Mrs. Estelle." "Tell me." "Don't tell them anything yet. Act normal, as if nothing is happening. When they receive the notification, the impact will be greater. Legally, you will be protected because everything will have been done the right way, without prior confrontations that they can use against you. Act normal, I repeated. Exactly. Be the invisible grandmother they think you are. Let them continue to underestimate you. Meanwhile, we prepare everything. And when they least expect it, boom, the legal strike. A smile spread across my face. I like that plan. Good. I'll wait for you this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Bring official identification and a copy of your birth certificate. I hung up the phone feeling more alive than I had in months. For the next few days, I did exactly what Mr. Olson told me. I acted as if nothing was happening. I went down to the kitchen early, before Chloe, so I wouldn't be in the way. I locked myself in my room when her friends arrived. I smiled when she gave me orders. I nodded when she spoke to me as if I were a silly child. But inside, every humiliation turned into fuel. On Tuesday, while making coffee, Chloe came down in her robe. "Mother-in-law, can you do these dishes? I'm late for the gym." "Of course, dear," I replied with false sweetness. She didn't even thank me. She ran out with her branded gym bag, leaving the kitchen a mess. I washed the dishes, thinking about her face when she received the notification. On Wednesday, I overheard another conversation. Chloe was talking on the phone in the garden. She thought I couldn't hear her from my window. "Yes, friend, we already found a place. It's a residence in upstate New York. It's not bad. It costs $13,500 a month, but it's worth it. It has a garden and a TV room. My mother-in-law will be happy there, surrounded by old people like her. We will finally get our house back." Get her house back. How ironic. On Thursday, Mr. Olson called me. "Mrs. Estelle, everything is ready. The official notification will be sent on Friday. It will arrive on Monday morning. Are you ready?" "More than ever. Do you have somewhere to go for a few days, in case the situation gets tense?" "I'm not going anywhere," I replied firmly. "That house is as much mine as it is theirs. I don't plan on hiding." "I understand, but I want you to know something important. Once they receive that notification, legally, they cannot kick you out. If they try, it would be an illegal eviction, and we could proceed criminally against them. You have all the rights on your side." "Perfect. And one more thing, Mrs. Estelle." "Yes?" "Your husband would be very proud of the brave woman you are." Those words broke me and rebuilt me at the same time. On Friday morning, Robert spoke to me for the first time in days. He came up to my room with a guilty look. "Mom, can we talk?" "Of course, son, sit down." He sat on the edge of my bed, nervous, playing with his hands. "Mom, Chloe and I have been thinking, and we believe that maybe you would be more comfortable in a place where there are more people your age, where you would be better cared for." I looked him straight in the eyes without blinking. "Are you telling me you want to put me in a nursing home?" "No, Mom, it's not a nursing home. It's a residence. Nice, with gardens, with activities." "I see." "Don't take it the wrong way. It's just that we thought it would be better for you. More company, more professional attention." I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to show him the document right there. But I remembered Mr. Olson's words. Act normal. So I took a deep breath and said, "It's fine, Robert, if you think it's for the best." He was surprised. "Really? You're not upset?" "I'm tired, son. Tired of many things. If you think that's the way, go ahead." He hugged me awkwardly. "Thank you, Mom. I knew you would understand. On Monday, we'll go visit the place. It's very nice. You'll like it." He left my room, more relieved. And I stayed there, sitting, counting the hours, because on Monday, we weren't going to visit any nursing home. On Monday, they were going to receive the notification that would change everything. That night, I prepared my best dress, the navy blue one with silver buttons that Paul bought me for our 40th anniversary. I cut my nails. I did my hair. Because I knew that in 3 days, everything was going to explode. And when that happened, I wanted to look dignified, powerful, like the woman they never should have underestimated. Monday dawned with a gray sky, as if even the weather knew something big was about to happen. I woke up at 6 a.m. I took my time bathing. I put on the navy blue dress. I put on light makeup. I carefully styled my hair, putting my white hair up in an elegant bun. I looked at myself in the mirror, and I saw a different woman, not the invisible old woman I had been for 3 years. I saw someone who was about to regain her dignity. I went down to the kitchen at 7 o'clock. I made coffee. I set the breakfast table with clean placemats. Chloe came down at 7:30, surprised to see me awake so early. "Good morning, mother-in-law. Did something happen? You look very dressed up." "Good morning, Chloe. Nothing happened. I just wanted to get up early." She looked at me suspiciously, but didn't say more. Robert came down minutes later. "Mom, today after work, we're going to see that residence. Is 6 p.m. good for you?" I smiled. "That sounds perfect, son." At 9 a.m., the doorbell rang. I was in the living room, pretending to read a magazine. Chloe opened the door. "Good morning, Mrs. Chloe Dominguez Cifuentes?" "Yes, that's me." "I have a legal notification for you and for Mr. Robert Cifuentes Doe. Please sign here." I heard the scratch of the pen on the paper. The door closed. Chloe's steps approached the living room. She was holding a large manila envelope. "What is this?" she murmured, opening the envelope with trembling hands. She took out the documents. She started to read. Her face changed from pale pink to deathly white in a matter of seconds. "What is this?" she whispered. She dropped onto the sofa, reading and rereading. "Robert!" she screamed hysterically. "Robert, get down here now!" My son rushed down the stairs, frightened. "What's wrong?" Chloe threw the papers at him. "Read this! Read this now!" Robert took the documents. His eyes scanned the lines. Once, twice, the color left his face. "No, it can't be," he whispered. "What is this, Robert?" Chloe screamed, standing up. "Why does it say here that your mother owns 50% of this house?" Robert looked at me. I held his gaze, calm, serene. "Mom, did you do this?" I stood up slowly. "Yes, Robert, I did this." "Why?" Chloe screamed with tears of rage. "Why are you doing this to us?" "Because 3 years ago," I said in a calm but firm voice, "I loaned my son $185,000 to buy this house, and he signed a notarized document acknowledging that debt. A document that included a very clear clause. If he didn't pay me back in 5 years, I would be entitled to 50% of this property." Chloe turned to Robert like a snake. "You knew this?" Robert stammered. I signed that document, but I thought Mom would never use it, that it was just a formality." "A formality?" Chloe was on the verge of hysteria. "You told me you bought this house with your money. You lied to me, Robert." "I was going to pay her back." "Going to? When were you going to pay her back? 3 years have passed and you never mentioned anything." I walked over to the dining table. I took a copy of the complete document from my purse and placed it on the table. "It's all here," I said. "The promissory note, the agreement, the signatures, everything legally registered with Mr. James Miller, Public Notary number 37, everything in order, everything legal, everything irrefutable." Chloe took the papers with trembling hands. She read them. She reread them. Then she looked at me with a hatred that could be physically felt. "This is a trap, a manipulation. You are a manipulative old woman." Something in me broke, but not from sadness, from power. "Manipulative?" I repeated with an icy voice. "I am manipulative for protecting what is mine? Tell me, Chloe, who is the manipulative one? The woman who gave almost $200,000 so her son could have a house? Or the woman who, for months, treated me like trash, forbade me to sit at my own table, bossed me around as if I were her maid, and planned to lock me up in a nursing home to get her house back?" The silence was deafening. "Yes," I continued. "I overheard everything. The conversation where you said my smell permeated the house, where you told your friends I was a nuisance, where you convinced my son to lock me up in a residence that cost $13,500 a month because it was cheaper than having me here." Robert closed his eyes. "Mom." "No, Robert. No more. For 3 years I became invisible in this house. In my house. The house I helped pay for. I accepted humiliations. I endured contempt. I stayed silent when they treated me as if I didn't exist. But when I heard you planning to lock me up, that's when my patience ran out." Chloe was sobbing on the sofa. "You can't do this to us. We have children. We have a family." "I also had a family," I replied. until you decided I wasn't part of it. I walked over to Robert. I looked him straight in the eyes. Son, I gave you that money out of love, because you are my blood, because I believed you would take care of me the way I took care of you, but I was wrong. You chose. You chose a woman who treated me like trash. You chose to remain silent while I was being humiliated. You chose to ask her permission to help your own sick mother. Tears streamed down Robert's cheeks. Forgive me, Mom. Forgiveness doesn't change what happened, I said. Now listen well, both of you. This house is legally 50% mine. I have 3 options. Stay here and exercise my right to live in my property. Demand that you pay me the full $185,000, or force the sale of the house and divide the profits. Chloe lifted her head. What are you going to do? I looked at her with the same coldness with which she had looked at me for months. I haven't decided yet, but I assure you of one thing, Chloe. The space you denied me at your table was the same roof you are now about to lose. The silence that followed was as dense as cement. Chloe wept, sitting on the sofa, her hands covering her face. Robert stood, looking at the floor, defeated. And I remained firm in the middle of the room, holding my dignity like a shield. You can't do this to us, Chloe whispered through sobs. This house is everything we have. My children are growing up here. Our life is here. Your life? I repeated sharply. And where was my life when you forbade me to come down for dinner? When you sold my husband's furniture for $800? When you told me this house was yours and that I was living here as a freeloader? She didn't respond. Robert finally spoke. Mom, I beg you, tell me what you want. Money? Respect? What do you need so you won't take our house? I looked at him with a mixture of pain and disappointment. The only thing I needed, son, was for you to treat me like your mother, not like a nuisance, but it's too late for that now. At that moment, the doorbell rang. It was Mr. Olson. I had asked him to come that morning after they received the notification. I opened the door personally. Good morning, Mrs. Estelle, he greeted with a professional voice. Good morning, Mr. Olson. Please come in. He entered with his leather briefcase, his impeccable gray suit, and that presence that commanded immediate respect. Chloe and Robert looked at him as if he were the executioner. Allow me to introduce myself, Mr. Olson said. I am Henry Olson, a lawyer specializing in family and property law. I legally represent Mrs. Estelle Doe. I am here to explain the legal situation you are in. He opened his briefcase and took out more documents. As you have already read in the notification, Mrs. Estelle is legally the co-owner of 50% of this property. The document signed 3 years ago before Notary James Miller is completely valid and registered. There is no way to challenge it. But there has to be something, Chloe stammered. There is nothing, Mr. Olson replied firmly. Mr. Robert had 5 years to pay the debt. He did not do so, not a single dollar. Therefore, the co-ownership clause was activated automatically. Legally, Mrs. Estelle has 3 options that I, as her representative, must present to you. He placed 3 folders on the table. Option 1. Demand the immediate full payment of $185,000 plus legal interest accrued over 3 years, which totals approximately $210,000. If you cannot pay, the property will be subject to foreclosure. Chloe moaned. Option 2. Mrs. Estelle exercises her right of co-ownership and remains living here indefinitely. You would not be able to sell, rent, or modify the property without her consent, nor could you demand that she leave. It would be illegal. Robert closed his eyes. Option 3. The property is forced to be sold. The profits are divided 50-50 after the mortgage is paid off. Each party receives what is due to them, and you go your separate ways. No, Chloe cried. No. This house is worth almost $600,000. If we pay off the mortgage, we have $300,000 left, and we would only get $150,000 each. That's not enough to buy anything decent. You are destroying us. I walked closer to her slowly. I am destroying you? Chloe, for months you destroyed my self-esteem, my dignity, my place in this family. You turned me into nothing. And now that I have the power to do the same to you, you realize how it feels. I turned to Mr. Olson. Can I make my decision now? Of course, Mrs. Estelle. I took a deep breath. I looked at my son, that 43-year-old man who was once the child who slept wrapped in my arms. I saw his red eyes, his distraught face, his guilt, and something broke inside me. It wasn't revenge I wanted. It was freedom. I have made a decision, I said firmly. I am going to sell my 50%, but not to you. I'm going to sell it on the open market, to whoever offers the best price, and with that money, I'm going to buy my own home, small, simple, but mine, where no one tells me where I can be or what I can touch. Mom, please, Robert pleaded. No, son, I already made my decision. You also made yours when you planned to lock me up in a nursing home. Now live with the consequences. Chloe stood up, furious. This is revenge. You are a spiteful old woman. Mr. Olson intervened with a sharp voice. Ma'am, I suggest you watch your words. You are speaking to the co-owner of this house. Any verbal or physical aggression could result in additional legal charges. Chloe collapsed onto the sofa again. Robert approached me. Mom, will you never forgive me? I looked him in the eyes. Forgiveness doesn't erase the damage, Robert. It doesn't give me back the 3 years of humiliation. It doesn't give me back the dignity I lost, but it also doesn't prevent you from earning it back. Someday, maybe, if you learn what it means to respect the person who gave you life. I turned to Mr. Olson. Proceed with the sale of my share. I want it to be quick and clean. It will be done, Mrs. Estelle. I went up the stairs to my room. Behind me I heard Chloe's sobs and my son's shattered silence, but I didn't turn around, because for the first time in 3 years I walked with my head held high, without fear, without shame, without asking permission to exist. 6 months later. I am sitting on the balcony of my apartment. It's small, only 2 bedrooms, but it has something that 2-story house never had. It is completely mine. It's in the New York neighborhood of the Upper West Side. 3rd floor, with a balcony full of pots where my purple hydrangeas, basil, rosemary, and those white gardenias that Paul loved so much grow. From here I can see the street, people walking, children playing, life passing by without asking me for permission to exist. I bought this place with the money from the sale of my share of the house. Mr. Olson found a buyer in 3 weeks, an investor who paid well, $150,000 clean for me after all the paperwork. With that money, I bought this apartment outright. I had $40,000 left over, which I invested in a retirement fund that gives me a monthly pension of $800. It's not much, but it's enough. And above all, it is mine. No one can take it from me. No one tells me where to sit. No one forbids me to cook in my kitchen. No one makes me feel invisible. Here, in this small space, I regained something I had lost. My identity. I reconnected with friends I had abandoned. Women my age who understand what it is to survive. We have coffee on Thursdays. We go to the farmer's market on Saturdays. We laugh about things only we understand. I signed up for a watercolor painting class. I was never good, but I like it. It makes me feel alive. On Sundays, I cook slow-roasted pork shoulder. The smell fills the whole building, and my neighbors knock on the door to ask if I'm selling. I give them portions. They bring me pie or cookies. That's how a community is built, with respect, with reciprocity, with love that doesn't hurt. And Robert? 6 months have passed since that morning. The first week, I didn't hear from him. Then, a month later, I received a message. Mom, forgive me. I don't know what else to say. Forgive me. I didn't reply immediately. I let that message breathe on my phone for days. Finally, I wrote to him. Forgiveness is a process, son, not a word. If you want to get me back, start by respecting who I am, not who you want me to be. 2 more months passed. Then I received a call. It was Robert. He was crying. Mom. Chloe left. I stayed silent. She couldn't handle the pressure of having to sell the house, of moving to a smaller place, of her friends finding out everything. She went home to her mother with the kids. She's asking for a divorce. Part of me wanted to feel satisfied, but I didn't. I only felt sadness for my son. I'm sorry, Robert. I'm all alone, in a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. I work all day. I see my kids every 2 weeks. And all I think about is everything I lost by not valuing you." His voice broke. Do you think you can ever forgive me?" I looked out my window. The hydrangeas on the balcony swayed in the wind. "Robert," I said, in a soft but firm voice, "forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean going back to how things were. It means learning, growing, changing. Are you willing to do that?" "Yes, Mom. Anything." "Then let's start slowly. 1 call a week, 1 coffee a month, without expectations, without demands, just 2 people rebuilding what was broken." "Thank you, Mom," he whispered. "Thank you." Now, 6 months later, Robert calls me every Wednesday. He tells me about his job, his children, how hard it is to raise them alone. I listen to him. Sometimes I give him advice. Sometimes I just tell him, "You're going to be okay, son." Last month he came to visit me. He brought flowers, white gardenias. He sat in my small living room and looked around. "It's nice here, Mom. It feels peaceful." "Because here no one makes me feel like I'm in the way," I replied. He looked down. "I'm so sorry I made you feel that way." "I know, and we're working on it." Before leaving, he hugged me. A long hug, sincere. The kind of hug I had been waiting for years. "I love you, Mom." "I love you too, son. I have always loved you, even when you hurt me." But love doesn't mean accepting mistreatment, and that's something we both needed to learn. Now, as I write this from my balcony, with a hot mug of coffee in my hands and the sun illuminating my plants, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Peace. It's not a perfect peace. There are still scars. It still hurts to remember. But it is my peace, built with my own hands, in my space, with my dignity intact. And if I could talk to every woman going through something similar, I would tell her this: your worth does not depend on how much you endure. You are not stronger for staying silent. You are not more loving for accepting humiliation. True strength lies in saying, "No more," in defending what is yours, in demanding respect, in remembering that the love that destroys you is not love. It is control disguised as family, and you deserve more, much more. Because in the end, true wealth is not in big houses, or in elegant tables, or in perfect appearances. True wealth is in the respect you have for yourself, and in the space you occupy without asking permission. That space that no one, ever again, can take from you. If this story touched something inside you, leave a comment telling me where you're reading this from. Did you go through something similar? Do you know someone who needs to hear this? Give it a like if you believe dignity is priceless, and subscribe to keep sharing stories of women who stood up when the world tried to tear them down. Because here, in this space, all voices matter, all stories are worth it, and no woman is alone. Thank you for joining me on Estelle's journey. Until the next story.